You can hear in his voice that he's on a high right now.
Yeah.
He's not the depressed person he normally is. Now he's just a little bit depressed.
But Henrik was a very good pacer. Very good.
So the whole point of this session was
Week 5. This one was a different beast. The kind of week that makes you wonder if marathon training is something you signed up for voluntarily or if someone tricked you into it. 2 long runs, 1 brutal interval session with Henrik, and a total of 150 kilometers on the legs. This is the kind of week that builds the shape you want for a marathon. The quiet grind, the uncomfortable consistency, the part nobody sees, unless you film everything like we do. So yeah, week 5 pushed back a bit, but we pushed right back. Let's get into it. Week 5 started with a proper long one, 28 kilometers to wake up the system. The weather wasn't exactly cheering me on, but it wasn't stopping me either. The first half of the run climbed a bit. 250 meters of elevation isn't extreme, but for me it's enough to feel like you're paying interest on every step. The legs were still sore and stiff from Sunday's weight session, so it took a while before everything felt natural. Once I finally got down to the flatter part, things started to loosen up. The pace came gradually and the breathing stayed calm. And I could finally settle in and just get the work done. Nothing flashy about this one, just a long, steady reminder that marathon shape is built by stacking miles even on the days when your body feels like leftover training from the day before. Not an easy start of the week, but absolutely the right one. Tuesday was a treadmill day, this time over at Henrik's place, even though Henrik himself was nowhere to be found. Honestly, probably for the best. Fewer coaching comments to worry about. The weather outside wasn't great, and after Monday's 28k I wanted to give the legs a slightly easier surface. So treadmill it was, nothing glamorous, just practical. But surprisingly, it turned into one of the better sessions this week. Good rhythm, calm breathing, and the pulse stayed right where I wanted it. One of those runs where everything just clicks without you really expecting it. Sometimes all it takes is a change of scenery, or in this case, a change of living room, to get a surprisingly good workout.
So the session is 1 5k, 2 3ks, 2 2ks, and then 3 1ks in the end. So a little bit slower than marathon pace, half marathon pace, and 10k pace. Faster and faster.
Wednesday was the big one. The session this whole week seemed to orbit around. We had wind, we had rain, and honestly, the conditions looked more like a bad idea than a training plan. But Henrik joined as a pacer, and when Henrik shows up, you don't complain, you just run. The structure of the workout was simple on the paper, but absolutely brutal in practice. 5k, then 2 times 3k, then 2 times 2k, and finally 3 times 1k to finish it off. Every segment a little faster than the last. We opened with the marathon pace, around 3:33 per kilometers, and already here the wind makes sure I knew what kind of day this would be. Then into the 3Ks at around 3:29, pushing just enough to feel honest but not enough to lose control. By the time we hit the 2Ks at 3:24 pace, the legs were properly loaded. This was half marathon effort in weather that didn't really care about my progression plan. But Henrik kept the rhythm, checked over his shoulder, and somehow made it feel possible to keep going. And then the last part, the 1000 meters repeat around 3:19. That's 10k pace at the end of a session that already feels like a race. At this point, it wasn't really about technique or perfect form. It was just staying locked in and trusting that the training was there. There were moments where the wind nearly pushed us sideways. Moments where the rain felt like needles, and moments where I wondered why people pay money to do this voluntarily. But Henrik leading the way, it was just a case of hanging on, one repeat at a time. In the end, I hit every split the way we planned it. Nothing left in the tank, but nothing missed either. One of those days that really sticks with you. The kind that builds both the legs and the head. This session, this one hurt. But if you want marathon shape, these are the days you earn it on.
So you have to produce more energy and you're pushing.
At the it felt a bit slippery. Helt med?
Ja. Nei. Jeg trykte film, men den startet ikke. Kom an.
Ja.
Okay, we're done with the monster workout Henrik made. A bit hard, but very, very happy. I said that the last 1K felt very good, but the first one, after the 2K, was pretty heavy.
And you can hear in his voice that he's on a high right now.
Yeah.
He's not the depressed person he normally is. Now he's just a little bit depressed. That's on his high.
Yeah, but it was windy and a bit rainy. But Henrik was a very good pacer. Very good.
So in total, 18 Ks on the track.
Yeah.
9K running before that.
Yeah.
And then 1 or 2 Ks cool down now. So the whole point of this session was to be a little bit behind marathon pace on the first 5K, and then a little bit faster, and then half marathon pace, 10K pace.
Yeah,
that was the goal, and I think the execution was more or less spot on.
Yeah, but it was kind of hard.
Oh, it's supposed to be hard. Running race pace is supposed to be hard, and if it's not, then you're not running to your level.
I had a bit of Morten drink, but that's it.
Yeah, maybe we should have brought a gel.
I'm empty. Yeah.
But now, that's good. Last big session before Valencia is done. Now it's only fun, shorter sessions.
Okay. Bye. Nå liker det.
Thursday was uncertain. After Wednesday monster session, I honestly didn't know what the body would give me. So the safest choice was the treadmill. Controlled pace, controlled surface, controlled damage. I started at 12 kilometers an hour for the first 10 minutes just to test things out. The legs felt heavy, not surprising, but they didn't feel broken, which was a win after the day before. Then I bumped it up to 12.6 kilometers an hour, and that's where the doubts came in. You know that feeling when every step makes you wonder if you're going to pay for it tomorrow. That was the entire run. It wasn't smooth, and it definitely wasn't effortless, but nothing snapped, nothing shut down, and I got through it without making the soreness worse. One of those sessions where you're not trying to feel good, you're just trying not to make things worse. And sometimes that's all you need. Friday was a get it done kind of day. 15 kilometers around Sandnes. Nothing dramatic, nothing fancy, just putting one foot in front of the other. The first half felt a bit heavy. The legs were still carrying leftovers from earlier in the week, and the cold didn't exactly help. you can really feel winter creeping in now. The kind of chill that waits for you around every corner. But luckily, the second half opened up a bit. The stride loosened, the rhythm came back, and it turned into a much smoother run than it started out as. Not the most exciting session, but exactly the kind every marathon build needs. Getting out the door, getting it done, and keeping the momentum alive. Saturday was one of those mornings where you question your life choices the moment you step outside. Frost on the grass, mines in the air, and the breed that looks like chimney smoke. Perfect conditions if you're a snowman. The session was 5 times 2.5K with a 4K warm-up and a bit over 3K cool down. Cold start, but a really nice setup, especially because I got to run with a great group. The legs actually felt surprisingly good today. Strong, steady and responsive, which always make the intervals a bit more fun. The only real issue was the temperature. You could feel the cold in the lungs on every repetition. The pace from the group was a little hotter than what I needed, so I let them go when it got too fast. Sometimes sticking to the plan is harder than keeping up, but it's also how you avoid injuries. Even with the cold, the conditions were almost perfect. No wind, clear skies, good company and a nice flow in the legs. I averaged 3:28 per kilometers for intervals, exactly where I wanted to be. A proper winter session, tough breathing, good energy, and the kind of atmosphere that makes training feel easier than it should.
Finished 5 times 2.5K. About 3:27, 3:26 pace. Very good. Heart rate, big climbing, but okay.
Sunday's plan, at least in my head, was a shorter long run. Something around 20K felt more realistic after the week I'd had. But Henrik had a completely different idea, and when his message came through, it said 30 kilometers, no discussion. Before we dive into the run, I needed this one without the camera, just me, music in my ears and my own thoughts. So while I talk, you'll see some clips from earlier in the summer, from days with better weather and slightly fresher legs. Once I got going, the run actually settled into a nice rhythm. The legs were tired, really tired, but nothing felt wrong. It was just that deep marathon build fatigue you have to push through sometimes. The biggest challenge was keeping the pace controlled. After 150 kilometers this week, everything wanted to drift faster or slower, so I had to stay focused and just hold a steady line. But overall, the session went surprisingly well. I averaged for 4:26 per kilometers, stayed relaxed, and got the whole thing done without any major issues. And the moment I stopped, that was it for the day. Straight to the couch. Because after running 150 kilometers in 1 week, the body doesn't ask for recovery, it demands it. A longer run than I expected, but probably exactly the one I needed to close out the hardest week so far. Alright, week 5 is done, and I think the best way to describe it is the week that didn't ask how I felt, it just told me what to do. This has easily been the hardest week so far. It started with a 28 kilometers run that arrived far too early in the week, especially with legs still grumpy from the previous weight session. The elevation and weather wasn't exactly supportive either. But somehow the second half loosened up and I finished feeling surprisingly positive, which is rare for me. Most of the week became a mix of finding the flow wherever I could and surviving the moments where I couldn't. A quiet treadmill session at Henrik's house gave me one of the smoothest runs of the week. Maybe because there were no pacing comments, no eyebrows, no coaching, just me and a borrowed training room. The highlight or low light, depending on how you see it, was the brutal interval session in heavy wind and rain. Henrik was leading like a human metronome, and the session kept getting faster just as my motivation was getting smaller. But we hit every split, whether due to fitness or Henrik's inability to let me stop. The rest of the week was all about managing fatigue, staying warm in the creeping winter, and trying not to make anything worse. A cold 15K reminded me that the winter is arriving early in Sandnes, and Saturday's long intervals forced me to swallow my ego and let the group go when the pace got too ambitious. Sometimes the smart choice is to slow down. And then Sunday delivered the final surprise. What I thought would be 20 kilometers turned into a 30 easy on Henrik's schedule. No camera, no commentary, just me, music, and a run that went better than expected, right up until I stopped and collapsed onto the couch. All in all, 150 kilometers, 2 long runs, 1 brutal interval day, and enough treadmill time to qualify as temporary interior design at Henrik's house. Tough, yes, but probably the most important week so far. Thanks for following along. All the data is on Strava if you want to dig deeper. And next week, Henrik will give his own update on the project, his unique perspective for better or worse. See you next week, hopefully with fresher legs, though let's be honest, probably not.